Seal presents. One of those things we hate about English. Articles. I know that articles make you want to pull your hair out and scream, but they're not at all impossible to learn how to use. So, to make it even easier, let's break this down into, well, let's say, 3 easy parts. If you're ready, we'll get into it. So first off, we have indefinite articles, so using an and a. And secondly, we have definite articles, which is the. And as an added bonus, we have when not to use articles, because this can be a little tricky knowing the difference. Alrighty, here we go. So the first situation in which you want to use indefinite articles rather than definite articles is when you're talking about something that's not actively known to the listener or hasn't been previously mentioned. So, if you know what comes next, is an example. Yeah, example time. So do you know what I had for lunch today? Chances are you don't. So I would say I had a big sandwich for lunch. So you see here, I'm using a to describe the sandwich that you did not already know about. Or I could go on to say, I saw an octopus at Ocean Park. The same thing. You probably didn't know I went to Ocean Park, and you probably didn't know that I saw an octopus while I was there. Cool stuff, I know. Moving right along, we also want to use indefinite articles when we're describing profession, which is going to require some more examples. I could say, I am an English tutor, or Carl is a lion tamer. You can see that I'm using 2 different indefinite articles, which I'll describe as soon as I'm finished drawing this clever illustration of Carl being a really bad lion tamer. And that's why I'm a tutor and not an artist. But here's a pro tip between using a and an. All you have to do is listen. It's the sound that determines which one that you end up using. And here are some more examples. So she is an honest person. Or, I work at a university. So despite one word starting with a consonant and the other starting with a vowel, they make the opposite sounds. So it's not the spelling that determines which indefinite article that you use, it's the sound. I know that's a lot to take in, but we're not done yet. This brings us to part 2, where we get into the real fun with talking about definite articles. Now, the first of the situations where you use these that I want to talk about is when you're discussing something you have already talked about, which in this case we can discuss my lunch. The phrase is no longer a sandwich, but the sandwich. So the sandwich I had was really salty. Definite articles are also necessary when you're talking about geographical points on a globe, such as the Nile or the Great Wall, since there's, only one of these. Better keep out those Mongols. Keeping in the spirit of the previous section, you want to use definite articles with certain pronouns when you're sure that there's only one of a particular thing. Examples of this situation include my extremely poorly illustrated interpretations of the sun and of the earth, since we are sure that there are only one of each of these. Lastly, for indefinite articles, I want to talk about superlatives, which, whoa, here's another pro tip. When you're using definite articles with superlatives, there's an alternate pronunciation. So the turns into the. We can say Avenue of the Stars is the most romantic place in Hong Kong. But that's just my opinion. Now, I know you're wondering if it's possible to have too much fun, but fear not, we're almost finished. Wrapping up the grammar madness with part 3, I want to tell you a couple of things about when you don't want to use articles at all. So when you're talking about general things like society, you can say, society believes that clothing is a good idea. And I'm oftentimes inclined to agree with that statement. But you can feel free to make any disagreements you may have. Secondly, you don't want to use articles when you're discussing sports. So, true statement here, I enjoy watching hockey. Would I say I enjoy watching the hockey? No, don't do that, that's bad. Oh, and by the way, let's go pens! You also don't need any articles when you're talking about the names of countries. Here's some more true statement examples. I have visited China 5 times. I wouldn't say I have visited the China 5 times because people know there's only one China and that just doesn't sound very good. I swear we're almost done. So lastly, don't use articles before uncountable nouns, generally speaking. So we'll take the word coffee, for example. You wouldn't say the coffee is bad for your heart, but good for your soul. It can stand alone. Whew, okay, we'll stop there. If you have any questions, you can come give us a visit in LBY 202. That's it, I promise, we're all done. Here's me wishing you all the best. Well, all the best. Vanna.